Hello and welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an American football podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. You are listening to and watching the News Crew, and I am your host, Brian, the conscience of Cleveland Donlan. Now, it's the off season, folks. We all know that means that we are your place to be for all things NFL news. Every single week, we have got you covered with all of the breaking news, everything that is coming out of just the NFL media, official team activities, training camps, the whole shebang. We have got you covered. Remember, like, subscribe, follow the crew. You can find us on X, on Instagram, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, and everywhere that you get your podcasts. Well, tonight, folks, we are a dynamic duo. We actually really need to stop contract negotiations with the rest of the crew so they'll turn up to OTAs. Like this, all this holdout chat for some of the boys needs to end. I am joined, as you can see, with the one, the only Big Chief. It is Studs. How was the hangover, by the way? You were enjoying a couple of beverages last week. You feeling fresh after it?
I wasn't actually too bad, to be fair. I went out and walked the dog, which was probably more surprising, the fact I could still walk a straight line.
We can confirm, everybody listening, that is not, in fact, a euphemism. He does mean an actual dog. Well, it is a pleasure to have you on as always, mate. It is time to get stuck in, as always, to our kick-off question. Now, this week, we like to start with a kick-off question, and it's no big shock that Harrison Butker remains one of the chief talking points in many homes, specifically in the kitchen, in many homes around the league, because that's where his target audience exists. So yeah, he made his now infamous commencement speech, and it's one of those brilliant moments that sport offers us. Now, I say whether it's the bold Harrison telling half of the species to get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, or it's AB stripping off and running off his island. Now, see, to be fair, one of the big news stories of the moment is the fact that AB has declared bankruptcy, which does make the fact that he stripped off in the field and ran off. The two things feel that are probably linked. Probably something there. But yes, it raises the question for tonight to get us going. What is your favourite infamous sporting moment? So, Studs, take us away, mate. What is your moment in sport that you forever live in infamy?
I've actually got two, to be honest. Both of them linked to our football or soccer.
I'm going to be rude and interrupt you. There's one that I think they're going to use, and it's just purely to upset me. And there's another one that if you use... Now, we have not conferred, folks. We have not swapped stories before recording. And if he nicks mine, I'm going to be really annoyed because I've only got one that I really like. So if he steals it, I'll be outrageous. On you go, Studs.
I'm willing to bet that it's no one that's going to upset you, right? Because one's from across the pond and one's this side of the pond. So the one across the pond, and I think everybody must have seen these clips now, is the female college footballer who just completely and utterly loses the plot when playing against her local rivals. She is pulling hair, she is kicking people off the ball, she is swinging punches. It must be about at least 6 or 7 years old now, but the video of that girl in that game is one of the... She puts Vinnie Jones to shame. He probably blushed.
She didn't lose it. That's passion. That's passion. That's feeling. Listen, we slag off Americans something rotten for their football no having any bite to it. That's what that lassie was bringing. She was bringing some bite to American sport.
Listen, she was bringing some, but our opponents would beg to differ that it was just bite.
Well, it was bite, it was hair pulling, I think there was an eye gouge in there as well. We'll get Michael in the Twitter try to get involved, mate. We will try and get a link to this because the footage of it did around something rotten, and we'll get it pushed out in the socials. What's your other one, Studs?
The other one is more of just a kind of very funny moment in the English Premier League where you're in the tunnel, you've got the mascots, you've got the captains, you've got John Terry standing there and the wee mascot behind him, and Stevie Gerrard goes to shake the wee boy's hand, and the wee boy pulls his hand away and gives him the na 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 with a finger to the nose. I think it's like 2011 or something like that. It was absolutely hilarious. And it's, do you know what? When I watched the clip today, the bit that I missed at the time, the wee mascot actually winks at Stevie Gerrard after doing it, and I was like, "That's absolutely class." He knew what he was doing. I think he was about 4 or 5 years old, and it was top draw.
See, like it's never work with wings or animals and all that type of stuff. But that was mine's. I'm going bigger. I'm going big. This is, I actually double checked the date of this, and it made me feel significantly older than I normally feel, which is already quite old. The 94-95 season. So let's see if you can jump in, Studs, with what this moment is, right? So 94-95 season. It is an exceptionally famous football player, our football, Premiership game, Manchester United player, who might have lost his patience with some of the critique that he was receiving from the crowd. And rather than, prove it on the pitch, go on amazing, score a belter, get the wee cup tier maybe to the crowd to shut up. No. Instead, Eric Cantona decided to just launch himself into the crowd and fly kick a spectator, which to this day is still one of the wildest moments in sport I think I can ever remember. From Cantona as well, who had more than his fair share of insane sporting moments.
It was just unbelievable. See, when that happened, there was just no words for seeing it at the time. It's like he's already been sent off, and then he confounds it by fly kicking a fan.
I think the words. I think the words were is Michael on the Twitter jumps in with Kung Fu Cantona. The exact words. It was wild, but it's like he never faced like charges or anything about that. Like he just get what was it? He get banned for a whack of games. Like I'm trying to remember. It was 95, so we're a fair few years ago now. Like he did. He got a hefty
for like 9 months.
I bet.
I'm sure he basically got banned for a season.
I bet if I'm walking down the road and I fly kick somebody, I think I'm going to get banged up for longer than that. Right, okay.
It's jail. You'll get banged up for longer than Scottish Scheffler.
Aye, exactly. Right, okay. Right, we're getting abuse on the Twitter and stuff. We're going to move on. We're going to bring it back to the game that we're on here to talk about, the wonder of the NFL, and we're going to start to go through some of the big news items of the moment. And one of the big news items that's just been announced is next year's draft. And that's it. It's been announced. And see, to be fair, I think it's great that they've decided to give the draft, let the host city also have the first overall pick in the draft. So I think that's obviously what's going to happen. It's why they've put the draft in Pittsburgh, to let them commemorate the first overall pick in the draft. I think that's great for the league. Are you any big thoughts in the draft moving to Pittsburgh, Studs?
I think it's a good. I think the NFL's been very, very cute about it, and I've probably got my sensible head on when I say this. It's a good way to get places like Pittsburgh, Detroit, places that are colder when the Super Bowl's going to be on, and it gives them something that they can share with the fans. I think taking it on the road makes perfect sense. Obviously, we've seen Kansas very cold when it comes to Super Bowl time. I mean, we're there anyway, so it would make sense just to put it in. But they've moved it to Cleveland, for example. I mean, another cold place. I'll not make a joke about Super Bowls in that one. And then you've got Detroit, and you've got obviously Pittsburgh next. So I think it makes sense.
It is. It's well. So we have had. This is when I'm checking my dates. So 1964 all the way through to 2014. It was hosted consistently in New York. That had the draft. Since then, you're right. They've tried to move it around various places around the US. And also the last 5 years, pardon me, last 5 years, we've had a variety of places that it's been to. And that's, Pittsburgh's another new site for the draft. Never been in Pittsburgh before. Even you go back in the day. It never made it to Pittsburgh, so it's their first time hosting it. It's nice that they're coming second to Cleveland. It's something they can get used to. Just let's get their head.
Just throwing that in.
No reason for me saying that. So. So yeah, I need to say I like the idea that it moves around the states. I think that's good, particularly as you say, places like Pittsburgh, the rest of it, where, and at this, I'm not actually being disparaging this time, places that aren't as glam as having it in Miami, having it in Vegas, having it in New York. These places have got sales all their own. It will give those cities like Pittsburgh a big oomph. You know what I mean? It'll give them something brilliant. They'll get to PR it. They'll make a ton of money. I like it. As much as it's Pittsburgh, I do like it.
I was actually listening to how it came about that it moves about. It was Roger Goodell was talking on the Pat McAfee show about it, where he basically was saying it used to be in Radio City, which I'm assuming is a New York location, and it was consistent as you mentioned. But basically, they'd booked like a concert or something along those lines, so the NFL couldn't get the Radio City for the draft. And at that point, that's when they decided to move it. So Radio City actually gave up the booking to a concert or whatever. So NFL decided, we'll move it around the States. And they've never looked back, to be honest.
Right, Eddie, there's one for everybody listening in live. There's one for you. What concert was big enough to bump the NFL draft? Like, you're not even talking like a one-off losing it or like rescheduling it or something. They've just lost it because I had this up in front of me. Let's find it. So Radio City Music Hall had it consistently from 2006 to 2014. Before that, it moved around New York. Before that, it stayed in kind of some places more than others. Like the Marriott Marquis had it for just shy of 10 years as well. That must have been a huge earner for that music, for Radio City Music Hall, and must have been a good gig. Imagine it wasn't. Imagine it was some like absolutely low rent, no mark band, some local doesn't even fill the gap. That's how you watch the NFL draft.
Makes you wonder if that person get the sack that basically said no at that point.
Some intern. Some interns made a mess of the bookings. We're sorry, Gaffer, it's done now. Hold the tickets. But there we go. It's one of the big stories of the moment. The draft is now being hosted in Pittsburgh next year, so they've got that to look forward to. And as I say, I just hope they get to celebrate it by having the first overall. Now, the big news of the moment, it is that time, and this is where we've got a wee bit of something to talk about. Actual football news for this season is now here. OTAs have, by and large, started. Bengal fans, you've got to wait until I think you've got to wait to the 28th to anything get started in Cincy. No, do you know what? No, there is. There's one big bit of news coming out of Cincy. I don't know if you've seen this. Joe Burrow's got a new hairdo, and he looks uncannily like Hayden Christensen. So, like, all of the younglings of Cincinnati better be worried. Joe Burrow's going to go around battering you. But, yeah, given that the best news I've got for Cincinnati right now is a really poor Star Wars reference, it tells you what's coming out of there. But we do have stories. So, we have got OTAs have started, and they, as we know, they come with controversy, they come with injuries, they come with competitions. Any of the big stories, Studs, we'll go through a few of them, mate, but any of the big ones caught your eye in particular?
For me, to be honest, I think you mentioned, obviously, Cincinnati there. We've seen pictures of Burrow thrown and things like that. So for me, the kind of interesting one is what is he going to look like once the pads are on, once he's taking hits, those kind of things. So, again, listen to Pat McAfee show, AJ Hawk and Darius Butler's both had the same injury, and they were talking about the lack of mobility that they had since the operation. So it'll certainly be interesting. Obviously, Burrow's going to be relying on his touch with that hand, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes with it.
It's going to be because it is the bit. Now, this is where you can keep me right, because Pat McAfee was talking about it, and it was a linebacker and
Cornerback.
D-line, O-line, the other player. I can't remember. Two non-quarterbacks, I suppose, is the point. So they're position groups where if you've got a wee bit of reduced mobility in one of your fingers, your thumb in this case, don't get me wrong, is it ideal? Of course not. But it's not going to be game breaking for you. You know, it's not going to totally change the way you need your mechanics or anything like that. You change up how a quarterback's hands work.
Yeah.
Like, don't know, I love getting stuck into Joe Burrow and calling him an absolute injury scare and all the rest of it. He's a cracking player. When he's fit and he's healthy, he is incredible to watch. There's no question for anybody with a functional brain that he's a top, 3, 5 at the absolute worst quarterback in the league. And even then, if you said 5, you're kind of tilting your head to the side and squinting funny. But is he the same? There's no, as I say, Stu loves to get really aggravated at me when I bring this stuff up. I don't think you can deny now that whether they've been his fault or no his fault or all the rest of it, Burrow has picked up a number of injuries now over a very short career. Going to start to take a toll on him. You know what I mean? And it's not like, the one good thing I suppose is it's not like he's had like a consistent injury, like he's got a bad right knee and it keeps going. They've been about his body. But still, like, this is the one for me. If I'm a Bengals fan, you know what I mean? Yeah, the leg break, all the rest of it, that was awful and it was grim watching, etc., etc. But he's obviously come back and he's running and his movement is fine. You damage your star franchise paid quarterback's hands. That for me must be a worry for everybody in Cincinnati.
Yeah. I think the only kind of saving grace seems to be the fact that they've done the operation straight away. Butler and AJ Hawk both played on with the injury, so that's again you're talking linebacker and cornerback or DB. So as you mentioned, guys that aren't using their hands as much, so they were able to get away with keep playing. So that could be the saving grace for Burrow, but it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like.
Or they just bench him for Jake Brown. To be fair, Jake Browning, if you did the weird maths and you like stacked the couple of games he played over a season, he was on somewhat hilarious numbers. To be fair to Jake Browning, he actually put together some decent games. On the notion of injuries, we've got 2 other big ones that I've kind of spotted. This is my favourite. It's some of my favourite bits of the preseason. So Kyren Williams is hurt. He is currently nursing a foot issue. Although everybody in camp is saying that he will be fine. And Josh Jacobs has got a dodgy hamstring. The big one with all this, does anybody worry about this stuff yet? But I love the way it's pressed. Like, oh my God, he's ruined. And you're like, guys, it's maybe not quite June yet. So calm down. Do you start to take notice, or is this case a kill?
For me, unless it's a serious injury, you're kind of like, let's just relax. It's right now you're at the voluntary part of the season, so the guys really don't need to be there. You tend to find it's a lot of guys, new teams coming in, trying to get to know the rookies, those kind of things that you're seeing. It's whereas some of the veterans will maybe not be there. So for me, again, I'm not taking notice unless somebody's leg is hanging off a la Nick Chubb or Joe Burrow mid-season, then I'm not worried.
Chubb will be fine by December. To be fair, he apparently is on. You know what's funny? He's on track, and I heard this in it was another pod I was listening to, and they were talking about how like players, there was a couple of they're on track with their recovery. That means they're behind. Because everybody you listen to, every player with an injury report, they're well ahead of schedule. Well ahead of schedule.
That's my favourite. That's my favourite trope of the off-season. So, they're ahead of schedule and they'll come back.
That must mean that everybody that's on schedule is behind. Because everybody else is ahead. It's wild. On the notion of this being voluntary, right now, it's voluntary time of the year, and as I say, your seasoned players tend to give it a skip. I always remember a cracking interview with, oh, and I now can't remember if it was Brady or if it was Rogers. It was one of the pair. And that was, they were being actually really sensible and talking how, look, I don't need an extra couple of weeks doing the playbook anymore. I know exactly what it says. I helped to devise it. I just need to, I'm at an age where I need to let the body recover and recuperate. But when you look at the younger players, but not even so much, your rookies are different. They're keen beans and all the rest of it. But your early kind of career players that you're looking at really trying to cement themselves, this is where you get some interesting things, I think. So we have got two very different players that I'm going to mention. We have got Brandon Ayuk and we have got Jordan Love. Both players, both massive parts of their team's offenses, obviously at different positions. One of them is playing in OTAs while he tries to get his contract negotiations done, and the other one is he's not holding out. He's just not reporting to the voluntary training bits so far. That would be Brandon Ayuk, and Jordan Love is turning up to try and get things done. What is your? Is this a bit of a bit of chicken from Ayuk, kind of who blinks first between him and the Niners, or is this just a case of it's voluntary, he really doesn't need to bother it, and people are just getting awfully excited because it's May and we need something to talk about?
For me, Ayuk is Ayuk been franchise tagged?
I will double check. Not that I was aware
I
of,
think
but
he's still got a year left. I think he's still got a year left of his contract, and it's really just a case of if you're Brandon Ayuk, you have got absolutely zero leverage here. Do you know what I mean?
He's queued up to earn $14.1 million this year, and this is the final year of his contract. Evidently, he is looking to try and get himself upwards of 100 mil over 4 years. And apparently, this is from the San Francisco Chronicle. Apparently, he's keener on up to 120 million over 4 years.
Yeah.
Not going to say he's not worth it. He's a cracking player, but that's a lot of money.
He's basically seen what Pittman's kind of got in Indianapolis and thinking he's looking for a kind of similar payday. T. Higgins in Cincinnati's probably similar as well. But for me, Ayuk's got absolutely zero leverage here. He's got a year left of his contract. 49ers can then franchise tag him next year and even start negotiations with him. So he really still has to, as much as it's going to sound daft, he still has to prove himself. He's got to prove that he can still do it this year again for me, and then they'll start looking at dealing him. I think what will happen is they'll probably franchise tag him and try and deal him next off-season because, let's face it, they're you don't want to pay when you don't have to.
Well, that's an interesting question you've raised. So, because the Kansas City wide receiver room is much maligned, and I'm not even going to make any jail jokes. Woo! It's much maligned. Everybody says, they need that out and out wide receiver one. Lots of chat over who it could be or the rest of it. There's three options. Who would you rather have? Higgins, Ayuk, or Pittman? Who would you say? You get the last word. Who would you tell the team to bring in? I know who I would choose.
I'd probably go Higgins.
Would be your answer. Who?
I'd go Higgins.
I'd go Pittman.
I do like Pittman. Ayuk went out the equation for me. Do you know what I mean? I don't need the Mike Tomlin clone sitting in my wide receiver room. He is his love child. Honestly, that photo of him for the Super Bowl.
Somebody needs to be checking where Mike Tomlin was those years ago.
But, allegedly.
Allegedly, of course, Mike. We know you're a fan of the show, Mike. All we got to say is, hey, I do what you got to do, mate. Right, okay.
Definitely, I'd struggle between those two. I'd be happy with either one.
It's not. I dare say, if you put any of the three of them, to be fair, on the Chiefs, they would become an out-and-out wide receiver one. I don't think that's unfair to say at all. Right, okay, going to move on. Some of the other bits and bobs that we've had coming out of OTAs or the rest of it. I'm even just reading my notes and I'm laughing at this. Justin Fields is competing stunts. What he's competing for. But he wants Russ to know he's competing. I think if he's telling Russ he's competing, he's aiming his statement at the wrong position group. Do it right. Do you know? Okay, I'm gonna reframe this question, and I'm gonna try and be nice. I'm gonna try to be nice. Do you think that there's a universe out there where Russell Wilson is not injured and he isn't having like historically bad quarterback play? You know what I mean? Like he can play poorly, but we're not, we're not talking like, wildly horrendous Zach Wilson level play. Do you think there's a world out there where Russell Wilson is just slightly underperforming and Mike Tomlin turns round to Justin Fields and gives him the nod? Does that world exist?
It's probably the same world that Lloyd Christmas's 1% chance exists in Dumb and Dumber. Let's be brutally honest. He's, I think if you're Justin Fields, maybe it's a mentality thing for him, and he's just thinking, right, that's the mindset he's got to get into. He's got to know that Russell Wilson's the starter. He's there to learn from him, and I think this is where the Steelers have been quite cute. I think they've probably got a situation similar to what the Green Bay Packers had, in a sense of you've got Aaron Rodgers, you've got an older quarterback in Jordan Love, and I get that they drafted him and sat him for 4 years, but you could probably get Justin Fields on a cheap-ish deal for a quarterback if he's doing the right things in camp. I think that's where his daily routine in Steelers is what's going to get him a contract next year, essentially.
Russ is 35, and yes, okay, we know we've all seen Brady, we've seen Rodgers pushing the boat at 40 and all the rest. That's not the norm. You know what I mean? Even at the quarterback position, playing that old isn't the norm. Certainly not as a number one. So you know, I mean, you would think that Fields surely has to be taking the 3-year plan view on this. That he sits behind Russ. As much as we all love to slag off Mr. Let's Ride, he's got a ring. You know what I mean? He's won a Super Bowl, so he's not hopeless. You sit behind him, you learn for a couple of years, make your moments. If it goes down to an injury, step in, show that you can demonstrate. For me, when I'm watching Justin Fields, I know you're dynamic. I know you can run with the ball. I am terrified when you step back in the pocket that you're going to drop the bloody thing. Demonstrate that he's got some ball security, that his decision making is going to be better, and he's not just going to huck it at someone. And then maybe you can salvage a career as a starting quarterback in this league, but I don't know if I believe it. So there you go, 1%. I think I can get on board with that as a 1% chance. Right, another one. So, right, the last bit of serious news. Then I've got one bit that I loved that I've seen today, and it's another bit of quarterback news, but it made me laugh so much. So a non-quarterback bit of news. Saquon feels like a rookie again, which I just hope he told his knees that. He's got some. I love Saquon. It's great to watch, but he's got some mileage on him now.
Oh,
you know I mean. Like, yeah, he's playing with the Eagles, and that's going to be way better for him. But man,
it's a mileage when he was at college. To be fair, with Penn State, it's up there with the all-time leading rushers at Penn State, having Miles Sanders. So they came out with mileage.
Yeah, as I say, again, he's one of these guys you look at and you're like, see when you're playing at the top of your ability, you are one of the best in the league at what you do. You know, everybody always says 28. 28 is the cliff for running backs. Saquon is 27. So, and with the mileage he's got on him, you know what I mean? People like Henry, people like King Henry, like Frank Gore, like AP. There is a reason that we remember all of them. There's a reason that they are so ingrained in your memory, because them extending the life of the running back that long is exceptional. It's not what normally happens. And when you pick up the things that Saquon's had, the usage he's seen his whole career, as you say, get back to college. I'm glad you feel young, Saquon, but I don't think you'll be feeling it for too long. Other on people that run, Lamar's dropped some weight. Now, I'm interested in your take on this, because this is being reported as good news. Lamar was up at £230 either last year or the year before. I can't remember which. He was up at 230, and the whole idea apparently is he's going for agility. So he's dropped a bit of weight. 2 years ago he was 230. Then last year he was a wee bit lighter again. This year, evidently, so coming for the where did I get this? Where did I steal my information from this thing? Complex Sports have him. He was doing an interview, and evidently he's down closer to the 205 mark. For anybody listening in the UK wants that in English money, that's about 14 stone. So, you know, before I come in with my view on it, Studs, is this good news?
I'm trying to actually think of Lamar rushing last year, and I genuinely can't think any times where his rushing ability did stand out. Lamar's first season as a starter, his ability to break tackles, his agility, all these rushing factors were what made people love him, what probably won him the MVP that year, the Michael Vick comparisons, all of that stuff. Because last year it was, and I'm saying it was May. That's probably in the Russian side of things. I mean, they got to the AFC Championship game, so he obviously it was MVP as well. Sorry, so he did have a good season. You just didn't see those breakaway runs that you seen in his rookie season. And maybe that's where he's trying to go. He's trying to kind of get those breakaway rushes. The concerning thing is obviously if he has a Russian quarterback, he's going to take hits. And these aren't the wee guys that are going to be hitting him. These are your D linemen, your linebackers. These are big units. So if he's dropping his weight, I hope he's contacted Tua for the judo training because he's probably going to need it.
Lamar, imagine that. Imagine getting in on that judo lesson with Lamar and Tua. You know, the white geese. You know the moves. Yeah, as I say, and this isn't coming from a Browns fan. This is coming from a football fan. I actually really enjoy watching Lamar. I enjoy any dual threat quarterback, but I do like Lamar. Lamar's 2019 season, for the context, he rushed for 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, right? Longest rush he had that year was 47 yards. So, his longest run was 47 yards. Last year, and when you say he still had a great year last year, but he put up only as a quarterback. He only put up 820 rushing yards with the 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns is pretty bang average for a quarterback that's a bit mobile. But the 800 and so yards is still a lot. It's still a good rushing turnout for him. But as you say, that for me, when I look at it, wide receivers can afford to be lighter. Because at the end of the day, they're taking hits from corners, they're taking hits for kind of your deeper linebackers, your safeties, who are not as big. You know, these guys are still units, but they're not as big as you trying to break past a D line, or you getting hit by an interior linebacker who is going to utterly level you. So I think it's worrying. I think that's unless the Ravens really flip it and they start to use Lamar a lot less, which, to be fair, they brought Henry in, so maybe that is the idea. Let someone else take the rushing load. I'd be concerned. I'd be concerned that he takes the same hits he's used to, but he doesn't have as much behind him. There's a question coming in, and admittedly it's for Keith, but it's a good question. So we'll let it slide that the boss is messaging as well while working. And do you know what, Studs? It's one for you because it's of course is Andy Reid's calm head the biggest asset that Kansas City has in the offseason? Now, this is off the back of things like we've obviously had the Butker stuff, we're not going to relive it. But off the back of that, you've then started to have Andy put on the spot, getting asked questions about it and given very measured response, very smooth media response, in my opinion. And I need to say, to be fair, Pat was in the media. I can't remember if that was today or if it was the last couple of days. Same thing, and it was a smooth response. I think a wee bit of time has been spent with a media team in Kansas City to get the boys ready for this one. But is Andy's cool head the biggest asset the Chiefs have, mate?
I think it just goes to show the leadership within the Chiefs, to be fair, and obviously Andy Reid is at the pinnacle of that. He's got his captains round about him that will be displaying the same things he wants to see. And obviously, you mentioned Pat Mahomes. I was reading his excerpt on it this morning. I listened to Andy Reid's comments as well, and it is very much like people have their own opinions. That's not what I'm working with. That's not what I'm seeing on the field every day. I mean, we all know people. You listen to different kind of podcasts and hear different athletes talking about the changing rooms and stuff like that. You've got guys in NFL changing rooms that are flat earthers. You've got do you know what I mean? You've got guys that don't think the moon landing happens.
Folks, for context here, please bear in mind that my day job's a geography teacher. So see, whenever anybody mentions flat Earth, it does make me feel that my entire profession has let humanity down.
That was exactly why I went flat Earth first, to be fair, just because I knew exactly how you would feel about it. But I mean, you've got these guys in changing rooms, and it's at the end of the day. Listen, people have opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one. Not to say whether it's right or wrong at the end of the day. And I think that's where Pat and Andy Reid have handled themselves very well. The owner's wife has actually even come out and supported Harrison Butker as well. So, as I say, I do think that alignment through the team is going to be key. And obviously, it's a massive, massive season for the Chiefs. They've got a target on their back. They don't need the outside noise. They need to very much internalise it and focus on what they need to do.
It's something that's interesting that you're saying that the Chiefs have got a target on their back every year, but the outside noise and all the rest of it. For the Patrick Mahomes era, the Patrick Mahomes Andy Reid era in Kansas City, for me, and you can feel free to correct me, I can't think of many times when any member of Kansas City, Andy Reid's sons have had issues with the law, but other than things like that, and that's again, it's not the same because it's some of your coaching staff's not the same as the players doing it. If it was a head coach, I know different, but I can't remember what job Andy Reid's son had when he get these issues with the law. But point being, I can't think other than this year when it seems to have went mental, when there's been this many internal distractions happening around Kansas City. With the Kareem Hunt stuff, but that was kind of before all the success really started for me. You try and give a timeline
that was Kareem Hunt's rookie season that happened, where he was having an unbelievable season, to be fair. That was his second season now, actually. I can't remember. You had the Tyreek Hill stuff, the Tyreek Hill allegations, which led to the Chiefs obviously drafting Mecole Hardman. This year, I know. Hey, listen, two-time Super Bowl winner, Mecole Hardman.
Sorry, how dare I?
2, 3? No, 2. No. Might actually be 3.
Enough. He's got enough rings out of half. He's acquired.
So, I mean, you've had, I don't want to say isolated incidents because that almost plays them down, but you've probably had one incident sort of each of the seasons where that's fine. It's one incident. They've been able to deal with it. This year, you've had Rashee Rice. You've had Xavier Worthy's car getting stolen. You've had Harrison Butker. Obviously, so there seems to be a couple of things obviously happening this year. Oh no! In fact, you've got the 2 linemen get arrested for marijuana possession as well.
Yep.
Wanya Morris and somebody, I can't remember the other guy now. So there's definitely
feels a lot going on. All we need is Kelsey to get chucked and Taylor Swift to release an album about it, and it'll do the unholy trifecta. It'll be done. Right, okay. Our last bit. Not a match made. Our last bit on OTAs, all the rest of it, and I read this and it just made me chuckle so much. So me and you need to get some plane tickets sorted, mate, because Jared Mayo has told us that the Patriots QB room competition is wide open to anybody. So I reckon that probably includes us. because that's how much faith I have in the Patriots offense this season. That me and you could probably step into their OTAs, and I'm not saying we'd win the competition. But I bet we'd make it interesting.
But we could compete like Justin Fields is competing.
Exactly. If Justin Fields can compete, let that be a message to everyone out there. If Justin Fields can compete, so can you. Oh.
Your Patriots need you.
Your Patriots need you. Aye, because God knows what else their offense is going to have this year. Right, okay. I'm going to move on. Okay, one more bit. Then I actually have a statistic this week. I actually went out there and I got a statistic of the week somehow in the off season, which is a hell of a thing. But before we do, we are going to do a quick whistle stop around the league. It is the off season. It is a time for looking ahead with optimism at the year that still sits in front of us and the season that we've got to enjoy. So what I thought we would do is we will go down all of the divisions and it's what do we want? This. So trying to take your individual, your Kansas hat off. So when we get
to the AFC West,
your Kansas hat off. What do the fans of these divisions all actually want to get out? And I'll start and I'll take my Browns hat off. Take my brown hat off. We'll start with the AFC North. For me, what I think the AFC North, the fans in general want is a year where there's no excuses for any of the teams. Last year we had, because the North gets held up quite rightly, I would say, is probably one of the altogether best divisions in the league. But last year, the Browns had 5 quarterbacks. Last year, the Bengals had 0.75 of a Joe Burrow. Last year, the Steelers had all sorts of offensive issues. They just weren't going at all. So there was problems. And yes, all of these teams still put together decent records, and there was lots of chat about the North having everybody in the bloody playoffs. The Ravens had no major issues, to be fair to them. But that's what I would say the North wants. They want a year where none of the teams have got excuses. So we'll do it one for each of them. So what do you think? When you look at the AFC North studs, what would you say? This is what the fans want out of it.
It made me chuckle.
Now, low-hanging fruit here, studs.
I know exactly what mine's is going to be, but it's just that what's going to draw my attention right away is the fact that you labelled Pittsburgh's issues as offensive issues. No, the Pittsburgh's issues last year were Canada, as in Matt Canada.
I was trying to be nice and not offend a nation.
Right. Low-hanging fruit, the one I've probably thought of right away is probably goes for 3 out of the 4 teams. So I'm taking that as the majority here. We're going to be majority rules. They want the Browns, the Ravens, and the Bengals want the Steelers and Mike Tomlin to have a losing season. They want to see that go. It's too easy.
Oh, I do. See, to be fair, I've said it before in the pod. I'm sure I'll say it again. I may be a Browns fan. I do want the Steelers to have a losing season. But Mike Tomlin will forever have my respect for the career that he's got.
Hell of a coach, but everybody in that division wants that to end.
Absolutely. Anyway, that's a good point. I feel better about that. Studs. That makes me feel good. Right. We'll move on to the AFC East. Now, I'm going to say for me, and I've got an interest on this, I'm going to say it's rebuild times 1. Right, the Pats are just a rebuild. That's fine. They're doing nothing. Is it then Super Bowl or bust times 3?
Yeah.
Is it? Simply, for me, that's got to be it for the Jets, for the Bills, for the Finns. Oh, we won a couple of games. Oh, we made it to a conference championship. That is not cutting it. Not with those teams, not with those rosters, not with those the press around them. So for me, I'm saying rebuild times 1, and it's Super Bowl or bust for everyone else. What about you? Where do you come in with them?
I think you're probably right. To be honest, it's you look at how long do you want to give Mike McDaniels? Yeah, he's probably everybody's favourite coach to listen to in the NFL, but he's realistically got to start getting somewhere with that team. The Bills are vulnerable this year, very much so. They've lost a lot on both sides of the ball. Jets, obviously, the second coming is here. Is it going to be Is it going to get 10 before I start?
Aaron Rodgers Jesus comparisons. I worry that he'll kill them.
So, I mean, again, if his Achilles goes, is that the Jets and Salah done? Probably and realistically. Salah's another one that's probably on a hot seat. The only safe one for me, you're looking at Jared Neal.
Right. Moving on. AFC South. Promises. Gotta be promises. You look around that division. Will we see Anthony Richardson not break himself after 2 games? Will he remember that he's a quarterback and not a high dive artist? Will we see CJ Stroud avoid the dreaded sophomore slump? Will we see Trevor Lawrence finally repay some of the draft capital that he was worth? And will we see the Colts? Colts are a bit.
No, Titans, you mean? You've already said the Colts.
Titans, not Colts. The Titans, sorry. Titans are a bit let down. I thought
Andy Richardson's just playing his cell.
What were you? Where do you land? What do you think the fans want to see out of the South?
For me, I think this is probably as optimistic as it's ever been for the South. You've CJ Stroud unreal. You've got 3 very promising quarterbacks, and unfortunately, Will Levis is then probably the least exciting one out of the lot of them. Do you know what I mean? So, but again, there was the odd wee flash last year for Will Levis. So for me, optimism's probably the word that describes this division.
Right, now, you need to take the hat off. You need to take it off, right? You need to be fair. Because I think I've got this one nailed down. I think I have the AFC West. I think I know what it needs, and I know you won't like it. I know you won't, but I'm going to say it anyway. Is the AFC West simply need a challenger? Is that what they need?
Well, I basically, you remember the old Scotland T-shirts for one of the Euros where it was anyone but England?
Yeah.
The AFC West is literally walking about anyone but KC. Do you know what I mean? So you've got the Raiders doing victory laps around Arrowhead because they won a game. Obviously, the Broncos beat us for the first time in, I don't know, good few years. Chargers are still chargering, so it's all good. But you realistically need a charger. A challenger. To be fair, it's normal challengers.
There's your question then, right? So for a man who, of all of us in the crew, pays most attention to the West for obvious reasons, where is the most likely place for a real challenge? And I don't mean beating KC once a year. I mean actually making KC earn the West. Who is that challenge going to come from? Where's it most likely to come from?
Genuinely, and I'm not trying to sound bald-headed about this, but after the draft and the off seasons that each team's had, I'm genuinely looking at it and I'm like, I don't know. Raiders have got they've improved their defense and brought in Wilkins. Who's their quarterback? Most likely it's going to be Minshew, right? But again, Minshew's okay. And
There's a reason Minshew's been at as many teams as he's been at.
You've got Bo Nix in Denver. Again, a rookie QB, you don't know what it's going to bring. And then you've got the Chargers selling off all their assets. Still got a strong defense, but we know they're going to be a ground and pound game. It's just, I genuinely don't know where the challenge is going to be. I think KC's biggest challenge in the season is going to be themselves. They can't have what happened last year happen again in the regular season. They need to try and build the momentum, get the rookies who need to hit the ground running.
Right, let's move it to the NFC then. And NFC North, surely it's a hype. Has there ever been a more hyped up division than this year's NFC North? Like we've got, do you know? I'm not even going to start with a low hanging fruit there. So, like the Vikings, I do love you guys. I do love Vikings fans. But it kind of sucks to be you right now. So moving on, Packers. It's the second, well, not the second coming of Jordan Love. It's Jordan Love can he consolidate what he showed us last year? Can he step up? A lot of excitement, a lot of hype, a lot of talk about him getting a big contract potentially coming his way after one season. We have got everyone's favourite story around the league, the Lions. Everyone's on board, and then we have got the Bears. We have got King Caleb rocking his way into the North, looking to be anointed king in the North by everybody. You look at the weapons they've added. They have. It's if Caleb doesn't live up to the hype, my God, I worry that the city of Chicago will implode. Is it just the biggest hype train in town?
For me, it absolutely is. You look at everything that's went on recently. You had the Packers throwing away their game against the 49ers. You had the Lions throwing away their chance to get to the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, Caleb Williams coming in, it is total hype. And then Kevin O'Connell, he's an excellent offensive head coach. So I'm very, very impressed with Kevin O'Connell. So I think this will be what I'd probably go fascinating. Outside the AFC West, this is the one I'd be most intrigued to see.
Okay, I like that. I'm on board with that. I need to say, I can't say you're wrong. I'm really excited to see the North this year. And going beyond Caleb, because I think we're all excited to see Caleb. But just in general, it's going to be, because you've like, again, sorry Vikings fans, 3 teams could take that division very easily. You wouldn't be shocked at all if we came to the end of the year and you had any of the 3 of them. I'd be a bit surprised with Chicago. A bit, but still, could happen. Right, moving to the East. Now, I wrote this. This is a division very much of 2 halves. We've got 2 teams, but it's going to be your year. And we've got 2 teams who would really rather if they just died now. Do you know, and you can choose who you think they are yourselves. I think we've got 2 very different realities. We have got the Cowboys, we have got the Eagles, who they are going to be, well, they've been for a while now anyway, they can't escape the Super Bowl conversation. They can't. Yeah. And then you've got the Commanders, and you've got the Giants, who can't escape the number 1 pick overall conversation. They just can't. Where do you come in this one, mate?
This is just a division that for me is absolutely united and probably unites a country in their hatred of the Cowboys, and I'm sorry for Dan on that one, but it's really, I think this division would absolutely love to see the Cowboys fail. So for me, it's what the Cowboys going to do, because you've obviously got the Dak scenario, you've got CD Lamb. So, the Cowboys are probably the ones I kind of want to see what happens with the most.
Hey, Zeke's back. Zeke's back. Right, okay. Let's rattle this off. We've got 2 to go. So NFC South. My notes in this said what the fans really want for the NFC South is a fire extinguisher, and then I queried whether or not those work on rubber. Do they just want to see just general progress, please? Functional football from any of the teams for more than 1 game at a time.
If they want functional football, they're probably better watching another division. Let's be perfectly honest. For me, it sounds harsh, but see, for the NFC South, you're probably think, if you're one of the fans, you're actually thinking, can we just get to next year's draft? I want to know where we're picking.
It's not like that. It's week 2 and they're already excited about draft prospects.
Let's get my tickets for Pittsburgh booked.
That's what it should have been. That's what the fans want there. They want tickets for Pittsburgh. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Right, last one. The NFC West, and somewhat circuitously bringing us back to the AFC West. Are they exactly the same boat that all the NFC West wants as a challenger? They want somebody that can try and step up and take the 49ers on properly.
I think there definitely is a lot of similarities. The difference being, for me, I think this year, I think Arizona is going to be your sneaky challengers in that division. If the Marvin Harrison Jr. hype's to be believed, Trey McBride is certainly stepped up. Kyler Murray's actually going to be healthy for the start of the season. I think the Cardinals are going to be a sneaky one here.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm still kind of on Team Rams. I don't know what it is about the Rams. I've got a wee soft spot for them. Yeah, and you know what? I don't have any.
Because you get Irn-Cru in week 1 last year.
Yeah, be fair. In one of our fantasy leagues, I did get Puka. I used my entire fab budget week 1, and I got Puka, and it won me that league. So that might well be it. Yeah, no, I think it's one of these ones where, unlike the AFC, I can actually see challengers in the NFC. I'm sorry, Broncos fans. I'm sorry, Raiders fans. You know, I'm sorry to all you guys. I just don't see it. Certainly not this year, not unless KC implodes. I do live in a world where I could see the Cardinals challenging. I could see the Rams challenging. Could I see the Seahawks challenging? Probably not. Maybe. You'd need Gino to really, really play significantly better than he did last year. But he's closer to doing it with the Seahawks than any of the teams in the AFC are to taking on KC. I would say. If you put the Seahawks into the AFC West, they would immediately become the second best team in the division.
Based on current rosters,
yeah, I'd say that's about it. Right, okay. That was good. There you go. That's what everybody wants, evidently. So says me and Studs. That is what you want. If you disagree with us, get it on the Twitter. You can tell us. Right. It is time. It's time for a statistic of the week. Now, it's a guessing game for you, mate. I am going to give you some statistics, some quarterback playoff statistics, and it is name that player. So, this player has played 10 playoff games. So they're an active quarterback in the league. Played 10 playoff games, and these are their statistics. There's one of these that really, really surprised me. So, for this player, first 10 playoff games, rushing yards, number 1. Total scrimmage yards, 2nd. Total touchdowns, 2nd. Turnovers with 6, 3rd lowest of all time. And an interception percentage of 1.1, the 2nd lowest of all time. Who's that quarterback? And if you get it, I'll be impressed. And then I do have a wee point to wind us up with that person. So, what do you reckon?
I'm actually sitting trying to think how many games Pat Mahomes played in the playoffs. I'm sitting thinking about it.
It's not Mahomes. I'll rule him out. It's not Pat.
It's no Mahomes because he's got more. He's played in more playoff games. So
even if I think so, the ones like the all-time ones, so like the turnovers, the interceptions, even the rest of them, it's just looking at any given player's first 10 playoff games. So Pat would be included. He's got 10 playoff games. But this player, that's where they come with all of those things. So it's I'll jibber around you, mullet.
You said it's an
active player.
So it's an active player,
active quarterback, unquestioned QB1 in their team. They are by most people.
Something like Jared Goff.
Nope. It's I'll get a final clue before the clues get really obvious. They are unquestionably a top 5 quarterback in the league. Unquestionably. I mean, and this is that I'm going somewhere with this. You'll like it. And for everybody listening, before I opened the show, me and Studs were having a chat. I didn't tell him what the stats were, but I told him he would like the answer. So that is actually a clue in and of itself. Somebody that's got all these amazing stats.
Josh Allen.
Correct. Josh Allen. So, where I'm going with this, I'm a big Josh Allen truther. I really like Josh Allen. Not just because I've got him in a half dozen fantasy teams. Is Josh Allen fundamentally the AFC's Andy Murray? He is a really talented player, and he just happens to be playing at the same time as your Djokovic's, your Federers, your Nadals, and he's just a bit stuffed by the fact that he win the same conference, that a Patrick Mahomes happens to inhabit. Jandy Murray.
It's aye. He's in a hell of a division. I think we've been saying that for years. You look at Joe Burrow, it's not even just Pat Mahomes. You've got Joe Burrow in there, you've now got Aaron Rodgers. You've got Lamar Jackson. But two-time MVP in there, so you're kind of now get CJ Stroud
and Justin.
But you've got CJ Stroud, who potentially looks like he could be a game changer, and there Anthony Richardson again. We don't really know what he's going to be. If he becomes this prospect, we think then Josh Allen could be in for a hell of a time.
Something saying I found it interesting. There you go. So that, everybody, is going to bring us to an end for this week's news crew. That brings it in. So that's going to wrap us up. Now remember, folks, you can keep in touch with the crew. You can find us on X at Irn-Cru. You can get us on Insta, grid_iron_crew. Find us on Facebook. You can find us everywhere you get your podcasts. It's the Irn-Cru. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, get in touch, help grow the community. We would love to hear from you guys, particularly if you've got anything you want us to talk about on the show, anything like that. Reach out, get in touch. Studs, as always, mate, it has been fantastic to get on and talk ball with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, always a pleasure, man.
I say, traditionally, Studs, this is when you say cheers.
Got what? Just I'm forgetting. Hey, listen, just forgetting what's going on. We're down to some 106 days until the NFL season kicks off. We're getting closer.
Deliciously close. And you know, we should celebrate this. This is the first ever full podcast I've been on with Studs where none of his technology's broken. So, with that sensational remark to leave us on, thank you very much for listening, folks. As I say, give it a like, give it a subscribe, give us a follow wherever you can, and we will catch you on